Hey everyone, this is Gravity Bowmain, and this is an in-depth lesson on how to duck walk. Duck walk is one of the 5 elements of Vogue. It occurs always in a squatting position, and it can either involve kicking the feet or walking around with the feet, so it can be done in place or it can be used to get around the stage. Let's get into the mechanics of doing a basic duck walk. So before you start duck walking, it's really important to stretch and warm up your body. This is true for any element of Vogue, but for duck walking specifically, you're using movements that engage your knees a lot, use a lot of energy, and you put a lot of strain on a lot of different joints. So it's really important that your body is warm and ready to move so you don't injure yourself, and so you're able to have a full range of motion to do a duck walk. When you're all warmed up, let's get into the basic position of a duck walk. So this is the basic position you want to be in for a duck walk. Basically, you want to be sitting directly on your heels with your knees in front of you, and you want to make sure your chest is straight up. You don't want to be leaning forward or leaning too far back because it's going to get you off balance and it's going to put a lot more strain on your knees and your hips than you need to be. When you're starting off running a duck walk, a great tip is to keep your hands on your knees instead of trying to do hands as well. It adds a little bit more stability and takes away some of the complexity, and it's a great way to get used to the movement. In terms of the actual mechanics of what a duck walk is, the way I was taught by my father, Jamari Bowmain, is to imagine that you have like a small rock in front of each foot and that you're using slight kicking motions to propel that rock forwards. So you don't want to be like kicking way up here. It's really just a small little kicking motion. Making that movement smaller and more subtle is also going to help you a lot because it helps you stay on beat. If you're trying to make the movement too big, you're going to get caught by the beat. It's something I see a lot of beginners struggle with, where they're not able to duck walk on the beat because they're trying to make the movement so big that they're unable to fit it into one count of the music. In terms of timing, I think it's really important to think about landing on the beat. So you want to land on the 1, 2, 3, 4. That means your foot is coming down on those beats, not kicking up on those beats. That's going to make your duck walk seem more grounded as opposed to being more kind of all over the place. Now that we understand the mechanics of doing a basic duck walk, let's try and do a full 8 count of duck walking. Once you start getting more comfortable with the basic movement of a duck walk, you can start adding hands. Hands for duck walk follows the same rule as they do for catwalks. You always want to have opposition. That means if your left foot is duck walking, it's going to be your right hand that leads, and vice versa. So as you can see, when my left foot is going down, my right hand is coming forward, and then likewise when my right foot is going down, it's my left hand that's coming forward. Now that we know the basics of how to do a duck walk, let's get into some variations to make your duck walk more interesting and unique. The first type of variation we can add to our duck walk is changing up the hands. We can do the basic catwalk hands like I showed before, but we can also do any other kind of hands as long as it follows that cardinal rule of opposition or symmetry. That means whatever we do, we have to balance, so it's the right hand leading if the left foot is leading, and with symmetry, it means that we can do kind of the same thing with both hands at the same time, and sometimes we can still get away with it. You just never want to do same hand, same foot, if that makes sense. Here are some ideas of what you could do. You can explore doing kind of hand performance concepts while doing your duck walk. You can use circles, you can use lines and taps. It's really all kind of up to your own creativity as long as you're following that basic rule. Another really useful variation in duck walking is a duck walk that's more like a walk than it is a kick. Some people actually prefer this one to the basic one, and it may be less kind of pressure on their joints, but it's really up to the individual. Another variation that you see a lot with duck walks is what I call a switch duck walk. Basically, it means that you're jumping with both feet at the same time and switching the position of the feet on the beat. It looks a little something like this, and for some people this is their primary duck walk. Also, something to note with this one is, for me at least, it actually helps to have my chest slightly forward to give me a little bit more space to switch my feet. But again, that's super individual and it's up to you. One of the most important parts of a duck walk actually isn't the duck walk itself, it's getting into it and coming out of it. It's true for all elements, but especially for duck walk, something I see all the time is transitions into it that are either really awkward or look really forced, or they don't allow enough time, or they take too much time. Some ideas for transitioning into a duck walk, it can be as simple as just slowly melting down into the duck walk. Also, you could try going from a catwalk directly slowly down into a duck walk just by simply lowering your level. You can also use other dance styles and kind of like activation and hand performance to get you down into a duck walk. You could spin into a duck walk, you can do any number of things. And likewise, when you're coming out of a duck walk, you don't just have to like slowly rise up. You can do floor performance out of a duck walk, you can slowly rise up into a catwalk, you can do hand performance to kind of pull you up. The options are really limitless, and those transitions is what's going to make your full performance more seamless and make it seem like you're doing a full performance and not just kind of going off a checklist of the elements and doing them one by one, if that makes sense. So now that you know the basics for a duck walk and some variations and how to get in and out of one, let's talk about a few final tips and tricks for how to use duck walks. My first tip is really to listen to your body. Duck walks ultimately are super intense, and for a lot of people, it's not something that they can do for a whole minute straight, and it's not something you need to be able to be a good voguer. So always listen to your body, listen to how your muscles are feeling, listen to how much strength they have, and make sure to conserve that strength. It's gonna read a lot better if you do 4 counts of a super clean duck walk and immediately go into something else than if you try and force it for 2 whole 8 counts, and by the second 8 count, you can see that you're getting tired. So really just be in tune to your body and know your limits, and don't try and push past that in a way that's either gonna hurt you or make it obvious that you're uncomfortable or getting tired. Another really important tip for duck walking is don't be afraid to be creative. There's so many really iconic and memorable duck walks that are just because people really went outside of the box. I think of Michaela Lonvin and all of the amazing duck walk variations she does. I think of Pack Rat Lonvin, who has a ton of duck walk variations that are very uniquely hers. I think of the Ninja Duck Walk, where you go really fast and you're like skittering across on your feet. All of these variations are things that people have created because they weren't scared to push outside of the box and think of their own things. And it's something I highly encourage. Again, Vogue is a freestyle style, so being your own individual person is crucial to developing your own identity and to becoming a better voguer. My last tip is to do with heels. Duck walk is one of the elements that for a lot of people is actually quite a bit easier in heels. The reason for that is because, as with all elements of Vogue Femme was designed and created and inspired by trans women. So we are talking about people who, when they were performing, often were in a heel. So because they were in a heel, a lot of the movements themselves are sort of crafted around that, in the sense that with duck walks and catwalks, you're always on your toes. So there's really no stability to be gained by having a flat because you're not even using the back, whereas a heel actually gives you a little bit of stability because it kind of catches you while helping you remain on your toe, if that makes sense. So it's something worth trying out if you're comfortable dancing in heels. Try duck walking in heels as well. Try voguing in heels in general and really see how it feels different and which one you're more comfortable with. Thank you all for watching this tutorial. My goal with these videos really is to create a set of accessible and decent quality Vogue videos out there that people who maybe have less access to a ballroom scene can learn from and ask questions and things like that. If you do want to support me in that goal, my payment links are down below, and I've also linked a number of charities that focus on Black trans women. Without Black trans women, we would not have Vogue Femme, we would not have the ballroom scene. So it's super important that we remember that and give back to those communities as well. That said, also if you want to take more classes from me, I do have Vimeo links in the description. My Vimeo classes are $5, but if payment is an issue, you can DM me and I will give you a free access code. I do my best to be as responsive on that as possible. And if you do have local ballroom scenes in your area or people from the ballroom scene who teach Vogue, I highly encourage you to take their classes. Learning from as many teachers as possible is really important, and it's going to give you a well-rounded style and a well-rounded background for you to create your own style from. If you have any questions at all, please leave them in the comments below and I will do my best to respond to them. If you want to see more content like this and see the rest of the series as I release it, make sure you subscribe and turn on notifications, and my other socials will also be linked down below. Thank you.